Okay, thank you for your presentations. And my first question actually is to Adam and Piotr. What percentage of customers do you acquire now from the online channels? Can you share with us?
Currently, it's about 80% of the
80%.
80% of the customers. We hope that the number will be still on the some stage, because in the same way we actually develop the other independent channel with partners. But the partners is not always possible to doing online, but all our own acquisition we plan to doing online, fully online.
Okay, but you have a human touch, because on some of the stage, a call center is calling to a customer to activate.
We call like online assistance or something, to help the customers. I still think even I spent 8 years in the telecommunication sector, and even there we needed human support to help people to finish the online process.
Okay, and Adam, what is the situation in Budapest Bank?
Yeah, well, in our case, we have even more human touch in the process, since we have a broad network of branch offices and RMs around the country. But so I would say it's kind of a mixture in our case at Budapest Bank. These channels usually come in the picture when you need information. So the first point of contact is always an online channel, but then if you want to get into a business relationship with the bank, you usually get in touch with the RM. So I would say that if you look at how many of the new acquisitions do we do fully online, it's 10 to 15% right now, because
50?
10 to 15, because you for the rest you always have a human touch in the we will introduce the online account opening very soon. We will come out on the market with that. So when this will raise the number a lot. That's our expectation. But right now, that's the case.
So, but can you tell us a bit more in more details? So, how this online channel acquisition in your case looks like, and maybe versus to a standard acquisition process by the REMS? So, a REMS receives the application from the customer from your website?
Exactly. It's because, like in my presentation, I mentioned that we deal with SMEs who has an annual net revenue above 1 million euro at least. Usually, it's more even more than that. And in our market, in their case, price and conditions are always as a matter of negotiation. So you don't really go to them, approach them with the standard conditions, but because that's the market. So you have to have a human touch in the process to be able to do the negotiations. And even the clients are like, they need to speak to someone to believe it. So in case of micro customers, because that's a different segment, like I said, but they are managed by the consumer division of the bank, we have the rate there is even higher. It's close to 40, even 50%, because there you don't need such a sophisticated proposal in terms of the credit agreements and the current account conditions. So that's a bit different. In our case, SMEs, bigger SMEs, you always have to have a so-called human touch. It might change in the future.
So what are your targets? What are your plans for the nearest future in this area? Do you plan to increase this percentage or not?
Yes, of course, but as it has been mentioned before by other presenters, it's basically what the customers demand. Right now, what we see, they are demanding our personal presence. So we approach this question rather from the effectiveness side. So we are planning to raise the non-personal contact or acquisition side of the business, where basically the client doesn't need our personal presence. But it differs from client to client, from business to business. Like that was mentioned before in the morning, agricultural businesses, they will always require personal presence by the RMs, but there are some other sectors where it can be even higher. The rate of the fully digital onboarding can be even higher.
So you don't believe that in nearest future robots will be acquiring SME customers?
It depends on what you define near future. but yeah, I think it's different from market to market, country to country. But we are saying that in the near future, like I said in my presentation, AI will. We are not afraid that AI will replace the relationship managers.
Okay, thank you.
If we see a trend towards that, then of course we'll adopt.
Thanks. And question to Paweł. What is your opinion of, also from your experience, what percentage of processes in the bank, in the terms of sales, can be automated? And from your experience, what are the main challenges in that process?
I think that we should define the automation term, because even if we automate the process, it doesn't mean that we don't need a human, then we don't want to use the human. Because sometimes it's really enough to automate only the really simple task, and you have a process with a human. With individual customer, as my colleague showed us, it's simpler, so you can
Talking about SMEs.
Yeah, go automate almost everything. With more demanding customer, I think that we'll still keep with this human touch with RMs. And if we have a proper system, the RMs will be doing only the things that are really necessary, because they don't be bothered by preparing documents, by doing some analysis that can be done automatically. They will get all the information and will do, for example, this necessary contact, and the process will be much more efficient in that way.
There will be then pure sales and no back office job. Okay,
Exactly.
and also my question to Adam, when you implemented the tool you showed us, so what was actually the target for implementations? How do you measure the effect of this implementation? So how the effectiveness of RMs increased, or how do you?
Yeah, well, yes, I can answer this question from two different angles. First, you can look at it from the aspect of the KPIs. So I've mentioned some of the numbers before that we are number one, usually number one, number two in terms of new client acquisitions on the market. So we are competing against much bigger bands in terms of sales force and all that. So I think that's a pretty impressive number, and we are reaching those figures in the past couple of years since we introduced this new system. I've also mentioned another very important KPI, which was the lending portfolio growth, where we are beating the market basically, and another very important figure is that in the past couple of, let's say, 2-3 years, we have doubled our portfolio, so we are managing twice as much clients in terms of numbers and credit volume with the same number of sales steps. So basically, effectiveness has risen a lot within the business, and we could also maintain the high level of service when we have the NPS, Net Promoting Score, surveys in the Hungarian market, which can be translated to customer satisfaction. In a way, we usually finish among the top 3. So higher volumes, more clients, same service level. So I think if you look at it from a KPI perspective, then that's what you get. But I personally like to look at it from different view. Where would we be if we hadn't introduced this new method? I think we wouldn't have been here today with these figures in December. So that's two answers for these questions.
How long did it take you to implement the solution?
The system what you saw here on the presentation, so what we have right now took us 2.5 years to develop, but it wasn't a long project, so we were doing really agile on that. So we came out with quick hits even after 3 to 4 months. And it was a constant development from our side. The most challenging part was there was many challenging parts. I've mentioned the cultural part, and we also had technical challenges. But the main value behind this whole system is the data market we have behind that. So that was the the most time-consuming part to put together. And we also spent a lot of time redesigning and all that with the front-end interface of the system, because it, like I said, it had to be really straightforward and easy to understand. So so yeah, 2.5 years, and in different smaller steps. And the first quick hit was out on the internal market after a couple of months.
And this is your internal solution, or this is cooperation with some sort of third-party providers, maybe fintechs?
It's internal, so it's custom-made, but we did work together with a big company. I'm not getting.
Will not do an investment.
So basically, it's been we have been working together with a big IT solutions provider, and we have developed this tool together.
Okay, thanks. Piotr, the question is to you. What challenges do you have having main part of your acquisition online? What are they?
Actually, the acquisition part is like only first part of our working with the customers. In my presentation, I focus on only acquisition part, but the second part of the factoring is the usage. And this is actually the most important thing, which actually we need to manage after onboarding the customers to SMEO. And we cooperate with the marketing automation system as well, and we're doing some segmentation. We have 9 segments today. And we segment the customers from the premium to the lowest level, and we try to customize the communication via email, via SMS, but as well the human touch is very important, because even the customers are able to onboard online, but are not able to use the product online, because they need just the person on the other side, you know, who will explain or we manage the things. That we onboarded the 80% of the customers by online, we serve the more than 50% by people. That is something that is very difficult to change, you know, to encourage people to use the online service by themselves. But this is our goal, our target, to encourage the highest number of the customers to do just there by self in the self-service panel. And this is important to still changing the panel, still making the researchers or check the customer satisfaction, make some A/B tests. That is quite important to still monitor the user experience, because even the customer pattern is still changing. The people, you know, have a more option, more other application, and they actually learn new pattern. That is very important to be really up to date and follow all these changes.
Okay, thanks. Do we have a question, because we have like 5 minutes of the discussion panel left? Any questions from the audience? Yes, of course, please.
I have basically 2 questions to Adam. The monitoring was very interesting, and my first question is, do you have any data that would compare the situation before implementing your tool and after, for example, in terms of sales increase? And the second question is it your proprietary solution, or you can, for example, sell it like a black box to be implemented in other banks?
White label.
Thank you. To answer the second question first, no, it's not a white label solution. It's a totally own solution for the banks. So it's not up for sale yet, at least. And to answer the first question, it's yes, of course we have. Of course we have. We have a long history. Like I've said, the bank was founded in 1987, so we have a long history of sales data. And but it's simply a question. So when you compare previous data to this one, so the time situations always change, so you have to layer out those external factors. But and of course we do that, and we see an incremental raise in both the sales effectiveness, new client acquisitions, number of clients, and revenues handled by per one relationship manager. So when you look at benchmarking data from previous years, you see I wouldn't say skyrocketing, but a steadily increasing piece there, and yeah. So basically, we do see an increase in effectiveness. The whole reason of doing this is because we want to raise sales force effectiveness, because you know, that's the trend, what's going on, and we won't be able to add more RMs into the system because of external constraints, but we want to get use of their value and time the most valuable way possible.
Any other questions? Yes. This way.
Question to Adam, then to Piotr. You showed the system, the dashboards, the concept that you are able, your RMs are able to analyze the data and efficiently manage the relationship with the clients. How the system, how the concept is supporting the acquisition of new clients? And to Adam, maybe also, you mentioned that you're focusing on 80% on distribution online and you're targeting 100% in the process. What's the target market you are looking for? What kinds of companies you want to finance?
I think I spoke too much, so I'll give it to you first.
Okay. Usually based on the historical data, and we actually analyze the information about the customers which we get before. And also we have tried to combine the data with the current usage of the customers, that we simply know what kind of the customers, valuable customers actually, we get on the different channels. That is the combination of the not only cookies, but only pattern of the customers, on the behavioral actually usage, and our usage in our systems, when we know exactly which customers in which channel came to us and how much money they get for us. This is all the multi-channel attribution model which I show on my presentation.
And the target market?
We target the SME, actually, a micro and small business is very wide target in Poland, because this is a 2 million customers, and this is not so like strict point to actually we can target our communication to the customers, that we try to finding the really small points which actually solve the network of the targeting to our customers, and we try to be really precise to to choosing the sum of the pattern and just picking the customers from the very wide network.
I understand that the competitiveness of your product is specifically better to some market segments, not to the upper level of SMEs, maybe the lower level, right?
Mm-hmm. Of course, we have some sectors when we targeting because the transport or the constructing is our target group, but we try also to target to the micro, like the small marketing companies, consulting companies, new business, startups. That is, the range is very, very wide, and this is not really simple answer that we have a target group in the one sector and we focus only on this. And also, this is very important from the risk management view, to have a very verified wallet of the customers with different sectors to have a just more secure business.
In our case, the first question, in our case, like I said, the system has management information functions, and they also have CRM functions. Then what you're asking about are the CRM functions. So where does it help to potentially target and acquire new clients? That was the question. In the corporate, we believe that in the corporate business, since we have a lot of RMs on the field in different cities, so they are the reason why we have them is to potentially know the market that they are dealing with. So they are on the field like a pilot, so they have to know what clients they should target. So in our case, it's not the question how to identify the targets, because we know we know who we want to target. It's to give our RMs possible entry points. I'll give you some examples. Like the system is gathering information and it's feeding the RMs on where we see possible entry points. What could possible entry points be? One of the clients is trying to attend an agricultural conference next week, so you get a feed that he has applied to attend this conference, so you get the feed, and you have to be there to meet the client. Or another example is that we see from external data sources that there has been a change in the ownership of the company. These are usually possible entry points, because the last owner didn't want to do anything with Budapest Bank. Maybe the next owner might want to do business with us. So it's also a possible entry point for the RM. So we are feeding them with those possible entry points on a daily, maybe an even more regular basis, so that we help them to not to identify, but to contact the right client at the right time. So that's what the system is helping it. Or it's not just helpful in terms of new client acquisition, it's also helpful in terms of monitoring. So let's say we have an ongoing relationship with a client, we are financing them, and we see that they have opened a bank account with a different bank. That's a red flag.
And so using these tools, these dashboards and all these concepts you implemented, does it allow you to increase the number of clients that each RM can serve in the portfolio?
Yes, absolutely. That's what I've said to gentleman over there, that over the past couple of years, the number of clients and the revenue handled per one RM has risen greatly. So it's
What
two,
is the
3 times double.
number of the customers per RM now?
They handle it's different from the countryside to the capital, but they usually handling around 70 to 150 clients, existing clients, and they also have a portfolio of
SMEs or
SMEs. And by SME I mean, and that's I'm going to the next question of yours. By SME we mean the upper part of SME, so that's not micro companies. And regarding your second question, I think I might have been a bit confusing, because I said that in the micro segment, that's what we target to have around 80% in the future to have online onboarding, but not in the SME segment. The bigger SMEs, what we deal with in the corporate business, we don't have targets like this. We are targeting everyone in the country, basically every client we have, and our first contact point is the RM, and it's going to be the RM for quite some time. Online onboarding is rather for micros. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so my last questions will be to Paweł. Can you give us some business case that you were implementing with the bank? So what was the target? Which process were automated? And maybe some recommendations from your side, how to do it faster, in a more effective way? What would you say?
Okay, so we've implemented we automated process for onboarding of SME customers, and later on we moved to online lending for SMEs customer, and the target for us it was that this process should be as similar to the individual one that were created for individual customers, and we started with the processes that took like a day, even 2 or 3 days for SME customers. And after implementation of our systems, it took about 30 minutes to onboard new client and to sell them products. And what's really important, it's not only just the beginning of the sales process. It's the whole process. Within this 30 minutes, you gather all the information, you give the decision, you give all the documents to the clients. So it's really complete. And for the other process, only the first part was automated. This process initiation part was automated with some preliminary decision, which was issued to the customer, and then the customer was invited to the branch, or he or she was called by a phone, and the process was then continued. If I could give you some suggestions on which part you should focus, I think that you should look at your procedures, at your standards, how your process look like now, and before starting implementing automated process, you should check whether it will be possible, because for us and our clients, it took quite a long time to change their procedures, to change the way they were thinking about servicing SME client. And after changing this way, after changing many procedures, and of course changing their existing systems that were gathering information, only after that we're able to implement the new solution, the fastest solution. I think it's really important.
Okay. Thank you very much for your contribution. Paweł Łaciński, Informate, Adam Jano, Budapest Bank, Piotr Suchodolski, SMEO. Thank you very much.